Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to part 21 of the GTO Trainer. Starting off, we are facing a under the gun, very tight, strong range open. We've got Jack 9 in the under the gun +2, standard snap fold. A lot of outkick situations and just not playing well up against their range, especially with so many people behind. You're pretty much playing a 3-bet or fold strategy there, mostly because any calls allows too many people in behind, then you're going to be playing kind of either a piggy in the middle type of situation, or you're going to be playing a just out of position to a lot of people, or just going multi-way into a pot with very wide range, and just doesn't really bode well at all. Facing so low jack opens, we're in the cutoff of jack 6 suited, standard fold. Once again, outkicked stuff, and then also Jack 6 is just a piece of garbage, mostly. Okay, so big spot here, folds around to the small blind who opens it up. We're in the big blind with pocket 9s. I reckon this is a standard raise. Then we get the 4-bet. So the raise was in the idea of trying to just isolate what is a decently strong range from the small blind, mostly because they're incentivized just to kind of call in a lot of situations, not to put in too much money out of position. But now they're with a 4-bet out of position, it's going to be an extremely strong range. I reckon this is a fold. They're saying it's a blunder. They're saying it should have been a call. Implied odds. I forgot about implied odds. That's on me. So the reason why that is a call 100% of the time, definitely not an all-in, is due to the implied odds of the situation. They're basically screaming they've got a really strong hand, and then pocket 9s has the potential to win a really big pot, should we hit our set, for example. So yeah, pretty much calling with not all our pocket pairs, mostly because we're only raising with some of our pocket pairs, but calling with our pocket pairs, calling with a lot of post-lot potential hands that can win a big pot. Suited hands that can win a big pot, such as in the flush, straight, yada yada. A lot of implied odds that can make up for any equity disparities right now. Mostly because, as we can kind of see here, small blind, very strong range, because they're putting in money while already isolating a heads up situation, and they're out of position. So they don't need to get anyone out of the pot. For example, they're already out of position, they're already heads up, so they're highly incentivized to be playing far more defense there. So when they're playing offense, it means it's going to be a very strong range. So they're saying we should have just called there flatted. I can definitely hear that if we're able to have a look here. So they're saying we're about a 30-70 type of situation with a lot of our pocket pairs, pretty much just kind of calling, utilizing position, and then the opportunity to win a big pot. Will also, I guess also the concept is that we are already in a heads-up situation, so we don't really have to isolate anyone. No need to put in more money unless we have a really strong hand. I guess pocket 9 is kind of maybe a marginal here. So I can definitely hear just a call here. Definitely not folding at all. Moving on to the next hand, we open in the hijack with pocket kings facing a 3-bet from the big blind. This is going to be a standard 4-bet. Big blind's going to have a very strong range here, mostly because they've already isolated a heads-up situation. When they go all in, that's going to be a standard call. So they're saying we should, yeah, I guess so. Well, because what that would be, so what if they calls, that's about 50. Yeah, so should have been an all-in. Yeah, I talked about this in the last episode as well. If calling means that the stack to pot ratio is already going to be, if the stack to pot ratio is already going to be in a situation where you're going to be all in on the flop pretty much regardless, you should be taking the initiative and going all in first, in order to deny equity to your opponents, potentially get them off hands that you're flipping with, potentially get them off the same hand as a fly. But yeah, so you want to be taking the initiative because you can potentially fold out hands and deny equity to hands, because even if you got kings, pocket 2 still has a 20% equity. 6-7 has about 20% equity. So that still means 20% of the time they're going to be winning. So going all in means that you can deny equity to all of those hands, whereas a call can kind of be, you're kind of opening the door, allow them to see a flop, allow variance to do its thing, whereas the all in, you can potentially deny a lot of that equity. So yeah, pretty much like in that situation, with the 25 bigs, had they called, that would be 50 bigs in there, leaving about 75 behind. So pretty much just 1.5 stack pot ratio. So pretty much you're all in on the flop with majority, especially with pocket kings as well. And if it's good enough to get yourself into a stack to pot ratio such as that, it's good enough to go all in. And if it isn't, it's not good enough to have that stack to pot ratio either. Moving on to the next hand, low jack opens when the cutoff of pocket 5s. I can definitely hear a call here, but we still have the button and both of the blinds behind, so I'm going to elect to fold. But I can definitely hear a call here given the implied odds. Not an overly strong range, but definitely you can still hear the applied odds, as we can see here. So yeah, calling sometimes, even raising sometimes to kind of isolate. Doing that with all of our pocket pairs pretty much, just at a small frequency. So yeah, 4%, yeah. So yeah, and mix it in together. It's just mostly the implied odds against what is a semi-tight range in the low jack. Mostly because we hit our set, especially even on like ace high, king high boards. The implied odds can make up for any equity deficiency there. So cutoff opens when the small line with jack 8 offsuit. Big blind still to act behind. Standard snap fold with some offsuit garbage. Moving on to the next hand, folds, open from a very tight, strong under the gun range. Jack 10 offsuit, if it was suited, it would be a call, otherwise fold. Jack 10 suited, even a raise at some frequency as well. Let me make sure I've closed that. Moving on to the next hand, when we open the small blind with Queen 9 offsuit, get 3-bet by the big blind. I reckon, I would say this is a fold. Not strong enough, not suited, losing a lot of equity as a result of not being suited, can be outkicked in a lot of situations, playing heads up out of position, not a lot of backdoor, just not a lot of equity to kind of fall back on, not a drawing hand, not strong enough to raise with, so standard snap fold out of position as well. So there's a lot going against us there. Hijack opens when the button with some offsuited garbage that's always going to be a snap fold. Outkick situations, not a lot of equity to kind of fall back on, and blind still to act behind, even though we are in position. We open under the gun, so very tight, strong range. We've got a suited ace, so this is a base. This is what we use to balance out our under the gun range. Using suited aces, they have a lot of equity to still rely on. They block a lot of strong hands of our opponents, such as aces, ace king, ace queen, etc. And then one of those, also those that we're very comfortable with folding. We're very comfortable with making a lay down with these hands, even if we hit top pair. Marginal kicker, we're still very comfortable with just laying them down, rather than kind of getting too attached to the hand and losing a big pot as a result. With only about 5 bigs, we already isolated heads-up situation. I will elect to call here, mostly because we've already, my thought process is we've already isolated a heads-up situation. We don't want to be putting any more money in out of position. Yes, the under the gun +1 is going to be an extremely tight, strong range, but for only 5 more bigs, we've got suited. Implied odds should make up for a lot of the deficiencies. Or the equity disparity. So King 10 8 all rainbow, so very dry static board. We do have backdoor clubs, but pretty much if they throw out any bet here, which they will on a king high board, where we'll just a snap fold and get away from it. So they're saying that should be a fold. That does make sense to me that it should be a fold. I can hear that idea, considering that the under the gun +1 3-bet range versus a very tight under the gun open is going to be extremely, extremely strong from the +1 position. However, I would have thought, given the implied odds of having a suited ace, would have made up for, because it's about, what, 70-30 against the majority of their hands, would have made up for that, because, like, if we ace-high board and we've got a flush draw, if they give us the correct pot odds, we can end up winning a really, really big pot. Even a two, like ace-high board, and we hit a lucky 2-pair, that's going to be very disguised. That's going to, once again, be able to win a really big pot. Like, for example, if we had this same configuration and it was ace-6 deuce, we would get a lot of money, and I believe that should be making up for a lot of that equity disparity, and playing up against a stronger range and having a range disadvantage and being outkicked in a lot of situations. Especially considering it was only an extra 5 bigs and we've already isolated a heads-up position, I would lean towards a call there a decent amount of time, given all of those factors. But I can definitely hear the fold, just on a pure range versus range type situation. So there's our 10 hands. So 10 hands, 12 moves, 74% GTO score, 8 best moves, 2 correct moves, 1 wrong move, and 1 blunder. The blunder being, the folding the pocket nines. Should have been a call. That was, big blind versus, hang on, so what was that situation? So should have called, so I don't even think I should have, so I should have called the initial raise with marginal pocket pair, and then should have called the 4-bet, given the implied odds, given playing in position as well. Can kind of bluff off better hands and deny equity to our opponent. I believe this one was saying that we should have just called with kings, as in just flatted with kings. I'm pretty certain was the correct move here. No, we should have gone all in, because the stack to pot ratio got to a point where we would have been already, and we should have gone all in order to deny equity. And then the a6 hand, they're saying we should have folded. I reckon we should have called, given the implied odds and the potential to win a really big pot. Even though we are out of position, I guess maybe if we were in position, it would be far easier, and the solver would probably approve it a lot more. Given we also have the added benefit of being able to bluff off better hands, being able to act behind, taking control of the pot a little bit more likely to be able to realize our equity, less likely to face a stab, and be able to realize our draw at a far higher frequency. So I hope you guys learned something. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care and play well.